Welcome, I'm Kinetic Symphony. This is Dave. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the supernatural. Case file number 1884, written by EnthusiasticSinner, The Hillside House's Night, a tale that's not quite right. In 1989, a friend bought a small house on a large piece of land in the hills of Pennsylvania, and asked me and another friend to house sit for a week. The house only had 4 rooms, and we only moved into couch and some boxes at this point. We were sitting around talking and listening to music late one night when we heard scratching at the door. I opened the door and a little Jack Russell walked in like he owned the place. The dog didn't look like he was wandering around the hills. He was well groomed and well fed, but he didn't have a collar. We have no idea where he could have come from because there wasn't another house around for miles. We went back to listening to music and talking while the dog enjoyed a belly rub. Then the dog jumped up and ran towards the bedroom barking. He slid into a stop in the doorway and his fur was sticking straight up. He was looking up as if he was looking at someone and growling. We looked in the bedroom but didn't see anything. I tried to get the dog to come back and lay down, but he was focused on something we couldn't see. He started slowly walking backward out of the room as he was snarling and growling. This freaked us out a little, so we decided to step out and get some fresh air. I tried to get the dog to come with us, but he was still focused on something and growling. We stayed in the front yard because there was no light anywhere other than from the windows of the house, and we couldn't see very well. We heard the dog bark one more time, really loud and short. It was different from the way he had barked earlier. It was like he was startled. We went back into the house to see if the dog calmed down, but the dog was gone. We looked around everywhere for the rest of the night and never found the dog again. All the windows were locked and the house only had one door that me and my friend were standing near the whole time. This happened over 30 years ago, and it still bothers me today. I'm still friends with the guy I was with that night, and we still talk about it sometimes and try to figure out what could have happened, but we never can. Case file 1884, The Hillside House's Night, a tale that's not quite right. Actually, I believe that this was a spirit of the Jack Russell, mainly because you mentioned that there isn't really any place where this dog could have come from, other than already having been there. It was able to bark at other spirits in that home that were only visible to it. But it is a curious question to ask. Why does sometimes a spirit manifest corporeally? Or at least enough to be visible? And the ultimate question always is, in regards to spirit, if they can pass through matter, why don't they get dragged right to the center of the earth? If they're still affected by gravity. If not, they would just float away, because the earth is moving. So spirits are somehow bound by gravity of the earth, but also able to resist falling through the mass of the earth itself, which is definitely a plot hole, you could say. It's an anomaly that isn't fully explained. Maybe it's not true. Maybe ghosts cannot pass through solid matter, or it only happens in certain rare circumstances that are not in their control. Case file number 1885, written by CGC X3. A line of lights with houses that appeared overnight. So, there's a city about 45 minutes from mine. Until this past month, we went to the city about 5 or 6 times a year for the last 15 years. We always go there and back on the same road. I started going to college in the city this semester, so I've been to the city about 20 times in the last month. Always on the same road, 2 times a day, 4 times a week. All that to say, Tuesday, when I was driving back from school, I saw a neighborhood off to my right. It's not tucked back in a tree line or anything, and it's not just 1 or 2 houses. It's a line of maybe 15 to 20 cookie-cutter style houses in a straight line perpendicular to the main road. The houses are all facing me as I drive home. The first one is maybe 20 to 30 feet from the road. There's cars at all the houses. The houses don't look super new, but they're not old either. I can tell it's on an old pasture land, so there's no trees. and there's no sign advertising a new neighborhood. I have never seen this neighborhood before. When I drove by it Tuesday, I was like, what the crap? Where did that come from? I drove by this morning and I saw the neighborhood and got a sense of unease. Like I'm seeing something that shouldn't be there. I've been racking my brain trying to remember if this neighborhood was there before this week. But I can say with certainty I've never seen it before. Question suivant 1885. A line of lights with houses that appeared overnight. Okay, so I'm assuming that you check Google Maps to confirm that this new neighborhood is indeed there, and assuming that's the case, and it's not going away, then this would be evidence of quantum immortality. Although in this case, this would be a massive difference. An entire neighborhood in one area where it isn't in the other universe, that's a big difference. You must have zipped really far away to a different universe very far away, which I think means that you died in a lot of different universes. Whatever got you was prolific, but not enough to completely invalidate your existence because there's just so many copies of universes out there, and of yous out there, which is a comforting thought, in my view. Case file number 1886, written by Dart Savty 23. The Jeep's Final Straw, a miraculous reset that left me in awe. This happened a couple years ago, and I think about it non-stop. My ex-brother-in-law was getting married on Mackinac Island, so we all had to drive out. My ex-wife, son, and mother-in-law left a day before me. I had to work for a few hours and take dogs to the kennel before I started the 6+ hour drive. On the way back from the wedding, something happened, which I still can't figure out and replay it in my head continuously. I was driving my 2014 Jeep Wrangler, and I went to reach for something to drink on the passenger seat. The bottle rolled away a little, so I reached further, which caused me to pull the wheel to the side. I realized I was close to the side of the road and went to correct it. But between overcorrecting, speed, 80+ in the middle of a nowhere road, and it being a Jeep, I lost control and flipped it. I remember rolling over a couple times and Jeep going into the woods on the side of the road. I can remember the sound of the wood exploding off the small pine trees, and the smell of the earth when I finally stopped moving. For a moment, I registered I was in terrible pain, but then it went away. I remember laying in the wreckage, realizing I was going to die and never see my son again. For a few seconds, I panicked about this and tried to move, but couldn't. After a few moments, a sense of calm came over me, and I realized he would be okay, and that everything was going to be okay, and I was okay with dying. Then suddenly, it was like it never happened, and I was back in the Jeep, and I severed but corrected okay. And I pulled over to the side of the road. I remember feeling like I was having a panic attack, white as a ghost and covered in sweat. I got back in the Jeep and drove for a bit. Once I got to the nearest little town outside the national park, I stopped and drank a bunch of coffee. After a bit, I finished the drive home. I told my ex-wife about it and she thought I was teasing her. Told my best friend and he thinks I must have fallen asleep while driving and dreamed about it. I know it happened. I can still feel the feeling of weightlessness as the Jeep was rolling, the deafening sound of metal and trees colliding, and the moment of panic and the feeling of acceptance shortly after. Question suivant 1886. The Jeep's Final Straw, a miraculous reset that left me in awe. And another quantum immortality event, but this one much more visceral, descriptive, gory. I think that'd be one of the worst things about it, if you die in a way that you remember. Why people remember, some people do, some people don't, unclear. But for you the memory is crystal clear, crystallized into your mind. I'm sure you'll never forget that. And it really is sorrowful to experience that kind of melancholy. To be there dying, thinking about your son, and then just accepting your fate. Ugh. Brutal, truly brutal. But at least it's not the end of the game. You get not a reset, but just a continuation in a different version of reality. I think quantum immortality is my favorite glitch per se, or just feature of the universe, the multiverse. that we just have more than 9 lives. We have quadrillions of quadrillions to the times, 64 exponent of variations. Now time for the joke of the day. My girlfriend has 1 eye and 1 leg. Her name is Eileen. Eileen, get it? Oh my god. These jokes are so good and so terrible. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.